In my book, The Everyday Stoic Simple Rules for a Good Life, Chapter 7 is based on the idea of being kind, benevolent, caring, and how these things require strength and courage, and how the leader, the great people in this world, have benevolence and a caring and kind nature. In the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, who was the most famous Stoic, he was the Emperor of Rome, considered the last great Emperor of Rome. He said that kindness was invincible. And recently, I've been seeing Stoic videos online getting millions of views saying that kindness is a weakness. And these videos, of course, are generated by AI with AI-generated script. And I'm not saying that that's bad. I think many times they sound very much the same and regurgitating the same information. Now, at the first page of Meditations many years ago, I wanted to hit the point. I wanted to make clear of the fact that kindness was a strength and having friends was a strength and asking for help was a strength. So, the first page of Meditations, I wrote a few quotes from other Stoics and a few ideas of my own. Described by Cicero, who was a famous Stoic, gaining friends who reciprocate your affection is second in importance to being wise and good. It is the most valuable indifferent. Seek wise and good friends and mentors. In Zeno's ideal republic, Zeno was the founder of Stoicism. It is full of sages who lived in friendship. In Seneca's letters, even the Stoic sage wants friends, although content and self-sufficient without. Seneca was a famous Stoic. He wrote surviving works today that have been read by millions of people, and he was the advisor to Emperor Nero, who many of you probably know through history lessons. The Stoic attitude is that of benevolence, and it is likely that Aurelius viewed all as brother or sister, or even an extension of himself, saying the soul of a man harms itself when it turns away from another human being. Kindness is invincible. This was the Emperor of Rome, the last great Emperor of Rome, this man, this figure that history remembers as such a strong, courageous, incredible role model. And millions of men and women look up to this person as such a strong role model. They read his book religiously every single day, as do I. I've been reading this for over a decade, and it looks like a bit of a mess. It's falling apart. So these videos are saying that kindness is a weakness, and I see this theme going around now in social media, on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, that kindness is a weakness, and that's not true. There is just a misunderstanding of what it means to be kind, and that misunderstanding is a weakness. But true kindness, true caring and benevolence is for the strongest and most noble of characters. Today's episode is powered by Huel. Huel is a quick, affordable, nutritiously complete food with everything that your body needs. I wrote down the rough structure of one of these videos as I was watching many of these videos to try get an understanding. And they all sound pretty much the same, but the one I happened to dissect was actually quite good. I think it was just branded quite suggestively and caused a little bit of controversy maybe. So, the first point in their video was don't set yourself on fire to warm others. Setting yourself on fire to warm others is the idea of pushing yourself down to lift other people up. It's putting others' needs first over your own. And this is not kindness. The thing that I understand is that you can only truly care for people when you yourself are in a position to care for them. So if you're not looking after yourself, if you're not loving yourself and caring for yourself, then you're in no position to do those things for others as you yourself are struggling. So this idea of being kind to others whilst pushing yourself down comes from pressure, comes from servitude, comes from anxiety, worry, and myself. When I was younger, everyone would always comment how kind I was, how caring, how selfless. I never had a bad thing to say to anyone. I always let people do exactly what they wanted to do. And I used to think this was great. How great a person am I? Everyone's complimenting me. But there was nothing good about that. And that was a weakness. Why did I never say bad things to people? Why did I let people do what they want to do? Why was I never mean? Well, it's not because I was kind. It's because I was scared. I was scared of what might happen if I said what I really thought. I was scared of losing friends. I was anxious and worried. I was trapped. I couldn't actually do what I wanted to do, and I wasn't honest. And this is not kindness. It's this idea that people think they're great. People think they're great people because they don't do something. But the reason they're not doing that thing is because they don't even have the power or the confidence to do that thing. They have no courage to stand up for themselves. So they think they're good people because they allow people to walk all over them. This is not kindness. And like the video says, you are setting yourself on fire to warm others. It's often confused as kindness. But what you want to do is, first of all, warm yourself. You need to care for yourself. Get yourself in a position where you're ready to look after other people. It's this idea of the circle of Heracles, where it's these concentric circles. And I also wrote this at the start of the meditation. Well, I drew the picture. You probably can't see the picture, and it's a terrible drawing. But there are circles. And in the first circle is self, then family, then local community, then country, and on the furthest out circle is humanity. And the idea that the Stoics had is that you eventually want to draw these circles in to the center. So first you need to love and care for yourself, live in accordance with nature, as the Stoics say, which is the telos. The end goal of Stoicism is to live in accordance with nature, to achieve eudaimonia. So you be good for yourself, you love yourself, you care for yourself, and then you can do it for your friends and family, then your local community, then the country, then the world. You cannot look after others until you can look after yourself. I was speaking to the Stoic Archer last week. He's also a psychotherapist. He helps people with depression, addiction, anxiety, and he was saying the exact same thing. You can't love others until you learn to love yourself. Because if you're caring for others without caring for yourself, then the scales are always tipped against your favor. And it always feels like they owe you something now. Because you're giving up your own health to help someone else, then it's not a fair trade-off. The next thing in our video was reciprocity has an expiration date. Which means, as the Stoics say, or Marcus Aurelius said, you have done good, and someone has received that good. Why do you, like a fool, expect something else in return? Don't expect anything in return. If you have done a good deed, then that is enough. If you have helped someone, why do you need thanks? Because you have done a good thing. The good thing itself should be enough. This is what it means to truly be good. It's like a scale. If you keep giving and giving and giving and giving and never get anything in return, then the scale begins to tip and tip and tip, and you start to feel like the world owes you something. I have given the world, I have given this person so much, I've offered them everything, I've sacrificed everything for them, and I'm getting nothing in return. This will leave you feeling bitter and resentful towards the world. So the idea of actually being good, actual kindness, is to give without the expectation of receiving, and that the giving, the act of being good, is enough. And it's a bonus that someone else has received this good and it's helped their life. But the way I like to see this is building your character. And this is something you can expect in return. And it's the one thing you have influence over is your own character. Every time you do something good, selflessly, without expecting anything in return, you improve your character. You get better at being a good, selfless person, and you help others. So how do you have the trade-off of not becoming a doormat? Because That's what all these kindness is a weakness videos are all about. They're saying that the Stoics would help people and just become a doormat. That's not true. If you are unwilling to do something without expecting something in return, then you need to reevaluate your character. You need to reevaluate if this thing that you're about to do is actually good, if it's actually helpful for someone, or if you're just doing it to appear great, if you're just doing it to receive something in return. So do good without the expectation of receiving anything else in return. The next point, there's two more. Received requests have no limitations. This is about if people keep asking things from you and you try to be kind, so you say, hey, yeah, you can have it. You give someone £1, $1. You give someone $1 one day, then they ask again, you give them $1 that day. Then it becomes a habit that they expect to receive this thing. And if you do not set boundaries, and it's not that people are bad, it's just that we're habitual creatures. And if we get used to the answer always being yes, and them always lending out a hand, then people will become reliant on you. So if you're always the person that offers help and helps someone, then in times of need, this person will always turn towards you. And if these things get more and more trivial, then they'll turn to you for the most trivial of things. And if you're okay with this, if you have no resentment towards this, and you're happy to help this person because you love them, then this is okay. But if you're holding resentment, then it's like I say, that scale. Every time they request something from you, they want a lift, they want some money, they want some help, that scale keeps tipping and you grow more and more and more resentful. Does this make you a good person that you keep helping them? Well, not really. If you're becoming resentful over it, you're becoming bitter over it, and in your mind you're disliking and hating this person and your circumstance. So the idea again is offer out your services if you're okay with offering out your services and expecting nothing in return. Although I know there is times when we may have to do things we're not too pleased with for the greater good or emergencies, but this is your own choice. You make the decision whether you want to tip that scale, as you want to keep that balance. You want to offer out your help, your services, your kindness without tipping down your bitterness, making yourself resent a person or the world or the circumstances. Just going off the last point, a personal story. I used to be a cleaner. I would clean derelict houses of drug abusers, houses where people had passed, houses of hoarders. I would even clean museums and businesses, shops, everything. I was a cleaner. That's what we do. And my boss, great guy, he would pick me up around 6 every morning. And every morning he would turn up in his green van and he would have a large McDonald's black coffee. And he would always give me every single morning. He'd arrive there, give me the coffee, and we'd start our day. It was always very pleasant, very kind, very caring person. And one day, I'm waiting there, like 5:45, I'm waiting for the lift, and then he turns up, a bit late, and I get in the car, and there's no McDonald's black coffee waiting for me. I like McDonald's black coffee. I don't know why. There's something nice about them. I think it's just the comforting nature of them. It's a nice hot thing in the morning, especially in this cold climate in the UK. So he arrives without this coffee, and I'm in a bad mood. I'm annoyed. Only for a small period of time. I'm annoyed that he didn't get me a coffee, and I think there must be something wrong. Why is he being like this? But then I started to think, why am I annoyed that he didn't do something nice for me? The truth is, I think he was in a rush. He had something that happened at home, and he was in a rush and didn't have time to get a coffee. That's all it was. So what's crazy is every single morning he would go maybe 10 minutes out of his way, pay his own money to do something nice to me. He would do this probably 100 times. And then the one day he didn't go out of his way, I think that's 1,000 minutes right there that he's gone out of his way, and probably £200. He's done that for so long. And the one day he didn't do this kind, generous thing made me feel bad. And it's because I had expectations. I became used to expecting this thing. And that was just the thing about reciprocity has an expiration date. He was giving me something without any expectation of something in return. But I was the bad person in that circumstance, in that situation. I got used and reliant on him bringing me a coffee. I never brought him a coffee. So just because he didn't do something kind one day, I was annoyed and in a bad mood. And so I'm just trying to prove the point that everyone is guilty of this. And people become reliant on your kind deeds if you do not set boundaries. And that's okay if it's okay with you. You know, I remember seeing on Reddit a long time ago where builders, if they do a favor for a friend, they'll give them a receipt. And the receipt will say on it, £1,000, but then they'll cancel it out and put 0. And they would say it's just for their accountants, you know, this kind of thing. But the truth was that it was to make their friends aware that they was doing them a favor. And a lot of people were saying, oh, this is toxic. If you're really someone's friend, then you don't need to do this. But people get used to kindness and they can start asking for more and expecting more if they don't say that they have done someone who's gone through something difficult to afford you this kindness. So I don't know. I don't do that, but it's just, I think it's actually a good point, is just making people aware that you've done something difficult to help them. Just to briefly take your attention away from today's episode on kindness, which I think understanding this practice that was from my book, The Everyday Stoic, Simple Rules for a Good Life, understanding this will change your life. That's not the only thing my book's about. It's just a brief part of the book. If you understand this, it will change your life. But just to take a pause from this, today's episode was powered by Huel. Huel is a quick, affordable, nutritiously complete food with everything that your body needs. And recently, I've been having the daily greens every morning because it takes 20 seconds to make, maybe. It's very simple, just water, scoop, shake, and it shakes really well. And something I'm surprised about with the Huel daily greens is that the daily greens taste nice. They don't taste incredible, but it tastes like a fruit juice, which I think is pretty good, especially the daily greens I've had in the past. And not the best, they always taste weird, but this mixes well, mixes easy, never any lumps, it's tasty, and I know that my body's getting everything that it needs and everything that it requires. So if you have any interest in Huel products, check the link in the description. And let's get back to the topic of kindness being invincible. So the last point is embrace the power of no. I remember watching Yes Man with Jim Carrey and thinking, I'm going to embrace the power of saying yes. I need to say yes more. Yes to this, yes to life, yes to opportunities, yes to friends. Which isn't a bad thing if you're always used to pushing things away, staying inside your comfort zone. It's a good way to get outside of your comfort zone. But saying yes to something, saying yes to an offer, is saying no to something else. And I wrote this in my book, you know, if you see a new pair of shoes, saying yes to those new pair of shoes is saying no to the money that you've spent on those shoes. It's saying no to trying to look after your current shoes, wearing your current shoes. Saying yes to a night out is saying no to a relaxing night at home, studying, focusing on your work. So just because you're saying yes to something isn't always a good thing, because you're saying no to other things. So the power of saying no. You say no to certain opportunities that come your way to allow way for other opportunities. But also saying no to people, setting boundaries. If you can learn to say no, because no is a good enough response. You don't need to give excuses. I'm always baffled that people expect, and I was the same. I felt like I had to give a reason why I couldn't do something. Oh, do you want to go on a night out with me? I'd go, I've got work, I've got to do this. I can just say no, because no is a good enough answer. I want to do something else. I want to focus on writing my book, which is something I had to learn the power of no. To write this, I had to say no to a lot of things because it takes time and effort to write a book. I learned that whilst writing this book, and I'm learning it now writing the next book. So the power of no will open up your world to so many opportunities, and it sets a boundary. If you always stay late after work to pick up people's slack, then eventually people just become reliant on you to do this, and they'll put work on your desk without even thinking it. And they're not being rude, it's just what they've become used to. They put work on your desk expecting you, and you stay half an hour every single day. Over a year, that's a lot of your precious time. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that if you're okay with that. But if you're feeling resentful, if you're feeling bitter about this, then there is something wrong with it, either with yourself or with the action that this person is doing. So over the week, I went through the meditations for the 900th time, and I picked out some quotes that hammer home the point of kindness being a strength and being good is a strength. In Book 5, 28 of the Meditations, are you angry with the man who smells like a goat, or the one with foul breath? What will you have him do? That's the way his mouth is. That's the way his armpits are. So it is inevitable that they should give out odors to match. But the man is endowed with reason, you say, and if he puts his mind to it, he can work out why he causes offense. Well, good for you. So you too are no less endowed with reason. Bring your rationality then to bear on his rationality. Show him, tell him. If he listens, you will cure him, and no need for anger. Neither hypocrite nor whore. This is something I like. It's something I really like, and it's changed my life. If you are aware of someone's moral blindness, someone's moral misunderstanding, and the Stoics said that moral blindness is worse than physical blindness because people aren't aware that they're doing something wrong, causing harm to the world and harm to themselves. If you're aware that someone is doing wrong, you can see this. You have the wisdom. Then why don't you have the courage to correct this and help that person? Because it is foolish to see that wrong is happening and then allowing it to keep happening. That is foolish. But what's really foolish is then allowing that to disturb you and anger you, saying, why does this person keep doing wrong? If you're aware of this, maybe you should try to fix it. And then he says in Book 7, 7:7, and this is to do with help, because I think that asking for help is something men and women really struggle with. And in today's climate, it seems like it's getting harder and harder to ask for help, and people are seeing it more and more as a weakness. But Marcus Aurelius, remember who this guy was. He was on the battlefield during the Marcomannic Wars, fighting off Germanic tribes. He was ruling a great empire. He suffered through the Antonine Plague. He lost many of his own children, countless of his own friends and family. He was a very strong character. And his book, his self-help book, it was just a personal diary, is sold millions over 2,000 years later. So Book 7:7. Do not be ashamed of help. It is your task to achieve your assigned duty, like a soldier in a scaling party. What then, if you are lame and cannot climb the parapet by yourself, but this is made possible by another's help? Something I love is this idea that asking for help is not giving up. Asking for help is a refusal to give up. What you're doing when you ask for help is you are putting aside your ego and you're using your wisdom to understand that there are billions of people in this world, and many of them know things that you will never understand. They've lived unique lives that you will never live. They've faced challenges and they've got wisdom that you cannot comprehend because of their unique life. And that's not calling you stupid. It's not putting you down, because I think everyone is incredible. I think everyone has their unique self, which is such a powerful tool. It really is. The unique self is the greatest of gifts. It is your greatest power. Anyway, you understand, and you're putting your ego aside to realize that someone else can help you. And it's okay to ask them for help because you could face, I've been there, where you have a difficulty, you have something you're really struggling with, and for weeks on end, it's causing sickness in your stomach, your head's spinning, you've got all these thoughts going on, and you're really struggling, you can't sleep at night. And then one day, you build up the courage to ask for help, and you get the answer straight away. It's solved. And you think, why did it take me so long to ask for help? It's because it's scary. It hurts your ego. It's a scary thing to ask for help sometimes. But just know that it's a strength. And yes, like anything, it is a scale, because you can become so reliant on others where you keep asking for help, when you don't actually need it. But because you become reliant on needing others, then this is your default guide. And this is something I became reliant on. I had a friend who was very good at speaking to people. He was very confident. He could go into anywhere, talk up the whole shop, make friends with everyone. He had that ability. It was quite incredible. You would leave him for 30 minutes, you would get back, and he would be friends with a family, and they're inviting him on holiday. Crazy stories. Anyway, because I was with him so much, I became reliant on using his help, to get through situations, social situations. So he would lead the way, he would talk to everyone, he would do this. I would sit back because he was good at it. And I had my problems with anxiety, but this was not good. So the help I was receiving was actually me using him as a crutch to stand upon. I was weak, so I needed something to stand on, when really what I should have done, maybe it's okay to get help sometimes, but I need to work on my weakness myself. I need to face my weaknesses, my difficulties. And yes, it's a challenge, you need to step outside your comfort zone. But that's when asking for help can become a weakness, when you become reliant on your help. Because then, if you use a wheelchair, every single day, because it's hard to walk, then your legs will never gain strength. Epictetus talks about this, that we get good at what we do. If you want to get good at talking, talk. If you want to get good at walking, walk. If you want to get good at being good, be good. But he also says, if you are laid in bed with an illness and you haven't walked for 20 days, then he said, see how hard it will be to walk. So work on your weaknesses. Don't always rely on people for help, but it is a strength. It's very wise to ask for help sometimes when you are going through difficulties and you're facing a problem. In the Meditations, this is all from the Meditations, book 9. If you can show them the better way, if you can, show them the better way. If you cannot, remember that this is why you have the gift of kindness. The gods too are kind to such people, and in their benevolence even help them achieve some ends: health, wealth, fame. You can do it too. Or tell me, who is stopping you? What I like about this is Marcus Aurelius is saying that you can always be kind. And obviously, if you follow Stoicism, you'll understand the dichotomy of control. Some things are within your power, some things are not, as Epictetus said. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, aversion, and not within our power are our health, wealth, fame, office, reputation. So Marcus Aurelius is saying here that being kind is something that is within your power, which is amazing, because people give 99% of the focus to the external world, the things we can't control. And if you can learn the dichotomy of control and give all your attention to what you do control, then you'll have so much energy, so much focus to really change, to really take control of your life. And Marcus Aurelius is saying that kindness is within your power, so you can be kind. No one is stopping you. And he says that the gods too are kind. In book 11, and this is something I've read so many times because Marcus Aurelius is talking about the gifts from the Muses. Well, the 9th gift from the Muses: kindness is invincible if it is sincere, not fawning or pretense. What can the most aggressive man do to you if you continue to be kind to him? If, as opportunity arises, you gently admonish him and take your time to re-educate him at the very moment when he is trying to do you harm. No, son, we were born for other purposes than this. There is no way that I can be harmed, but you are harming yourself, son. And show him delicately how things are, making the general point that bees do not act like this, or any other creatures of gregarious nature. But your advice must not be ironic or critical. It should be affectionate, with no hurt feelings, not a lecture or a demonstration to impress others, but the way you would talk to someone by himself, irrespective of company. This is what I love about Meditations. Marcus Aurelius isn't just talking how to be a Stoic sage. He is talking about how to be a good man and a good leader. But these aren't just tools that are for the ideal Stoic sage, this idea of someone that lives in accordance with nature and never does anything wrong, because it's unattainable. It's a nice thing to strive for. But what Marcus Aurelius is giving us is tools and principles that we can use in our day-to-day life that will actually help us in society to be a good person. And now, Epictetus, and this is from Discourses. Well, this book is the Discourses and Selected Writings, which include the Enchiridion. Epictetus was a Greek-born slave, crippled. And when he gained his freedom, he went out and taught Stoicism, philosophy, helping people. He was, I think, one of the greatest philosophers of all of history. And Marcus Aurelius was so influenced by Epictetus, he writes about it in his Meditations. So, in Book 11, Epictetus said, "Do you remember that it is God you are feeding, God you are exercising? You carry God around you and don't know it. Poor fool. Don't imagine I am talking about some external deity made of silver or gold. You carry the living God inside you and are blind to the fact that you desecrate him with your dirty words and dirty thoughts, none of which you would dare repeat if there were even a mere statue of God by. God himself is there within, seeing and overhearing everything you do and say. And do you care? You pariah, you have no sense of your own heritage." I love this. And I was talking to Gregory Sedler, who's an expert on this kind of thing. And he was saying that God is inside us. And the Stoics say this, that God has given a fragment of divinity that's part of us, which is the reasoning soul. And, this is a gift from Zeus. People said there's a story that all the animals were given great gifts to defend themselves: claws, sharp teeth, flight, speed, great strength, tusks, horns. And humans had nothing. So they came to Zeus and said, "What do the humans have? They can't protect themselves." And Zeus gave this divine spark, this ability to reason, gave it to all human beings. All of us. We all have this ability to reason, this great gift. We're all equal in that respect. God is inside us. God is always watching over us. So when we do bad, the Stoics were saying that we're doing bad to God. Through our own actions, we are desecrating and offending God. And the way I see this, because I'm not really a believer in Zeus, the way I see this is that our own character, one of the things we do control, our own character, which is very important. When we do bad, we are tarnishing and damaging our own character. We're doing something harmful and shameful. And the mind that is always watching, this mind inside us can see every action, every thought we have, every assent, every aversion, every motivation and desire. It sees all of that, and it takes note of this. When you act on bad impulses, your mind is taking note of this. And it all adds up, and it can lead down a bad path. There's millions of forks in the road, and if you keep going down the bad one, you will end up somewhere really bad. But luckily, if you keep going to the good direction, you'll lead somewhere good. And with your character is what I mean, because we don't know what the external world will hold for us. But if we keep going down the good path, our character will end up in a good place. So, kindness is invincible. If you can go into every single situation thinking that kindness is invincible, trying to be kind, then it removes a lot of fears and anxieties. And something I found is when I was younger, before Stoicism, I would walk with my head to the ground. I was very intimidated by people. Where I grew up, people would say and do things that were quite scary sometimes. And I read this line, kindness is invincible, and I kept thinking about it. And I decided I'm going to be kind, even to the people that aren't kind to me, even to these mean, scary people. And what I found is many reasons I believe that these people are bad, all figments of my imagination, and it wasn't real. So instantly when I started being kind, looking at these people with a bit of compassion, understanding that this person that looks mean or is saying a mean thing, this could be the worst day of their life, and it could be so shameful to them, something they would never do. So I started to go with this mindset, and instantly I became more confident because I'm going into a situation expecting to be the hero, which is an odd thought, but I understood that there's bad in this world, but there is always a space to do good. And oftentimes people look around saying, why doesn't someone do that? Why doesn't someone fix this? You can be that someone if you just understand this. And it takes kindness. And it takes this understanding that kindness is invincible. So, there's so many stories of this. Post Malone, when he went on the podcast with Charlemagne, I was watching a video on this the other day. Charlemagne kept calling him out, trying to belittle him, trying to make him feel bad, belittling his work and saying horrible things. And Post Malone, he's just a very kind person, very good nature. And he just kept reacting with kindness and sort of brushing these things off. And what that did for his profile is people loved him. He gained so much respect and attention from this. And I'm not saying you'll ever get this because that's outside of your control. What I'm saying is his character shone through because he was just being kind. And there's a story of Daryl Davis. He single-handedly shut down so many KKK members. He made them quit, and I can't remember the amount, maybe hundreds of thousands. He got them to quit, and the way he did this is by talking with them, by understanding them. And bear in mind, Daryl was a black man, and the KKK would have hated him. And they said, the first guy he ever met from the KKK said, "You're the first black person I've ever spoke to." But he heard Daryl's music and he said, "But there is something I'm hearing in your music. It's beautiful." So he sat down and spoke to him. And Daryl must have been scared, must have felt hate, must have felt anger. But he spoke to him because he said that they will never understand me if I do not speak to them. And this guy, he became Daryl's friend. And he left the KKK. And then Daryl, what do you do with this success that you've changed someone's mind and hopefully ended some hate in this world? Daryl says, "I want to talk to the Grand Master." And then he spoke to him, and it was way more, the stakes were higher. He had bodyguards around him with guns. And these people would have hated Daryl. Well, they did hate Daryl. It was awful. And what he did in this situation, that must have been terrifying, and he must have felt so much anger. He was kind, spoke to him, and they all became his friend, and all of them quit one by one over the years. Many of them quit as he was kind to them. And he got a lot of hate for this because people said, how can you be kind to them? How can you even let them speak? The things they've done. But the outcome of kindness was so powerful. And that's kind of what he was saying is, with his kindness, he can do these things. So these are just stories. But I want to say kindness is a powerful tool. And it's not a weakness. It's only a weakness when you're pushing down your own happiness to make others happy. Only when you set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Only then it is a weakness, when you expect things in return and you resent the world for giving it kindness. If you resent giving away your kindness, then don't give it away, because I don't think a kind person is giving away things then resenting it. You need to learn to do good without expecting anything in return, as that is for your character. My book, The Everyday Stoic, Simple Rules for a Good Life, is published tomorrow, which I'm very excited about, and you can order it now. But basically, this book, I go over many of these themes in it. I go over Stoic principles, practices, the history, my own personal journey, how to incorporate it into your life, the exercises you can use. So everything I've spoken to today was a few pages in this book. Obviously, it comes across a lot better in a book because I had time to correct everything, go over everything again and again and again, make sure it's read correctly, make sure there's no mistakes. Where I'm just talking to you now, going off my memory. So I may make mistakes when I'm talking to you. I may stumble on my words, and things aren't as coherent. But in this book, I can assure you, it's very coherent, very practical, and the people that have read it are saying how much it's helped their life. The actual practices in this book, the Stoic practices, I went from being shy, timid, scared, feeling weak, like the world was against me, and now I feel confident, strong, feel good. I just feel at peace, and I'm happy with who I am. And if when I was 18, looking at this person, I would not believe I'd ever become this person, because I sort of believed I'll be stuck in that cycle forever. But the book is available for pre-order. I mean, by the time you're watching this, it's available for order. So if you enjoy the book, please leave a review. Let me know what you think. Not for me, so other people can see what the book's about, and hopefully it can help more and more people. It's been translated into 11 languages and counting, which I'm very happy about, especially for pre-publish. That's very good. So it's coming to your country, maybe, in your language, so it's just easier for you to read. I know everyone watching this probably speaks English, but if you want to get a gift for someone that maybe doesn't speak English, then you can do that. The cover looks beautiful. Actually, different countries have different covers, which they all look incredible. The American one looks amazing. The Dutch one looks amazing. And that's all I've seen so far. So remember, kindness is invincible. Do good without expecting anything in return. Do not hold resentment to the world for giving it kindness. And these things will change your life. Have a great day, and stick around for the next episode.
So Stoicism has made it into hip hop. When you look at all of these lyrics about survival, about patience, about enduring, about waiting until their moment comes, all of these things fall directly in line with Stoic ideals.
If we sat down together, you could keep going through, oh, this song's talking about Taoism, this song's talking about chess, this song's talking about Sun Tzu. I guess like the wisdom, it's not being handed to them, it's shining out of them, and it's being passed to other people.